The endless ribbon of asphalt, mile after lonely mile. The hum of the engine, a constant companion in the vast, indifferent dark. For the knights of the highway, the road is life. But sometimes, it holds horrors that cling tighter than diesel fumes. Welcome, fellow traveler, to Nightmare True Horror. Tonight, we ride shotgun on 7 true journeys into the terrifying unknown, where the only thing scarier than the isolation is what breaks it. What unsettling sights have you witnessed from behind the wheel, bathed in the glow of dashboard lights? Share your own highway hauntings, your tales from the asphalt abyss, in the comments below. Let the CB of dread crackle with your stories, and if you're ready to peer into the darkness that lurks just beyond the headlights, ensure you are subscribed. For Nightmare True Horror is always hauling a fresh load of terror, straight from the heart of the night. Buckle up, these ain't tall tales from the truck stop. These are the real deal, and the most chilling destinations are often reached when you least expect them. Let's put the hammer down and roll into the fear. The flight from Denver to Seattle was only half full, a rare luxury on a red eye. I settled into my window seat in row 23, grateful for the empty middle seat beside me. The overhead bin creaked as I stowed my carry-on, and the recycled air of the cabin already tasted stale in my lungs. When I saw him walking down the aisle, something in my gut tightened. Onye, average height, average build, average face. There was nothing remarkable about him except for the way he moved, like his joints didn't quite fit together right. His eyes scanned the seat numbers methodically until he stopped at my row. 23B, he said, pointing to the middle seat next to me. His voice was flat, nearly a whisper. I nodded, shifting closer to the window as he sat down. The armrest between us felt woefully inadequate. His cologne smelled like nothing I'd ever encountered. Not unpleasant, just wrong somehow. Like artificial flowers trying too hard to mimic the real thing. Flying home? I asked, attempting small talk as the last passengers boarded. His head turned toward me with mechanical precision. No, business. 2 syllables, clipped and final. He didn't blink. I turned away, pretending to be fascinated by the ground crew on the tarmac. My reflection in the window showed a woman with tension lines around her mouth. Behind my reflection, I could see him staring not at me, but at the back of my seat, unmoving. When the flight attendant came by for the safety demonstration, he didn't look up. When they offered drinks, he declined without making eye contact. I ordered a gin and tonic, gulping it down too quickly. Halfway through the flight, the cabin lights dimmed. Most passengers fell asleep, but I remained stubbornly awake, hyper-aware of the stranger beside me. I must have eventually dozed off because I jolted awake to find him staring directly at me. In the dim blue light of the cabin, his pupils seemed too large. You were talking in your sleep, he said. His mouth barely moved. Sorry, I muttered, reaching for my water bottle with a shaking hand. You said, don't let them in. He tilted his head slightly. Who were you keeping out? I shook my head. Just a dream. I don't remember. Dreams are important, he continued, his voice still a whisper, but somehow audible over the engine noise. They tell us what we already know but hide from ourselves. I nodded non-committally and pretended to check my phone. 2:17 a.m., still hours before landing. May I show you something? He asked, reaching for his jacket pocket. My heart stuttered. I'm actually going to try to sleep. He ignored me, extracting a small leather notebook. It looked old, the edges worn smooth. He flipped it open to a page filled with tiny, meticulous handwriting. I keep records, he explained, turning pages slowly. Each was covered with the same cramped script. Everyone I sit next to, what they say, what they do, how they sleep. My mouth went dry. That's thorough. You're passenger number 347, he said, tapping a page. I've been looking forward to meeting you. I glanced around the cabin desperately. The flight attendants were nowhere in sight. The overhead cold button suddenly seemed miles away. I think you have me confused with someone else, I managed. He smiled then, for the first time. It was worse than his blank stare. A precise arrangement of facial muscles with nothing behind it. I don't make mistakes. You're Emma Landry, born September 3rd, 1988. Address 1742 Willow Street, apartment 3. You're going to Seattle to visit your sister Sarah after your mother's funeral. Your mother died of an aneurysm last Tuesday. It was unexpected. You feel guilty because you hadn't spoken to her in months. The air left my lungs. How could you possibly know that? He leaned closer, his shoulder pressing against mine. Because I was there, Emma. I've been watching you for a long time. Since before your move from Chicago. Since before you changed your name from Emily to Emma. I felt my reality tilting sideways. I'd never lived in Chicago. My name had always been Emma. You've got the wrong person, I insisted, my voice cracking. Look. He flipped to another page in his notebook and pointed to a photograph paperclip to the page. It was me, but not me. The woman had my face but wore clothes I didn't own, standing in front of a building I'd never seen. The date stamp in the corner read 5/17/2018. That's not me, I whispered. It is, he countered calmly. You just don't remember. You just don't remember. They did a good job with you, better than most. But there are always cracks. Haven't you noticed them? The dreams, the déjà vu. The way you sometimes catch yourself humming songs you don't remember learning. My hands were trembling so badly, I had to sit on them. Who are you? Someone who knows what they did to you. He flipped to another page. Someone who knows why. My head was spinning. Part of me wanted to scream, to call for help. But another part, a deeper, quieter part, was listening with terrified recognition. The headaches you get right behind your left temple, the recurring nightmare about a red door, the fear of enclosed spaces that you can't explain. His voice was almost gentle now. They're not random, Emma. They're fragments trying to break through. Tears blurred my vision. Please stop. He reached into his pocket and produced a small white pill. Take this. It will help you remember. I'm not taking anything from you, I hissed. Then you'll remain half alive, living someone else's carefully constructed version of your life. He placed the pill on the armrest between us. Your choice. I stared at the pill, my thoughts racing. This was insane. I should call a flight attendant, report this man. But what if? No. This was exactly how people got drugged and trafficked. I reached for the call button. The flight attendant won't come, he said softly. Look around you. I did. The cabin was completely still. Not just quiet, frozen. A flight attendant stood mid-aisle, perfectly immobile. A passenger across the aisle had a hand suspended reaching for a blanket. Even the clouds outside my window had stopped moving. What's happening? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Reality is subjective, Emma. Right now, we're in the space between moments. I can give you this gift because I'm like you, one of their projects who broke free. The pill gleamed white against the gray armrest. If I take this, I whispered, what happens? You remember who you really are. Then you decide what to do about it. My fingers hovered over the pill. The logical part of my brain screamed warnings, but something deeper recognized truth in his words. Why me? Why now? His expression softened, becoming almost human. Because they're closing in. Because you started to remember on your own. The funeral. Your mother wasn't your mother. The grief you felt wasn't grief. It was your real memories trying to surface. I picked up the pill. If this kills me, you're already halfway dead, he interrupted. Has anything ever felt truly real to you? Have you ever felt completely present in your own life? The question hit me like a physical blow. No. Nothing had ever felt quite right. I placed the pill on my tongue. It dissolved instantly, tasteless. Now what? I asked. Now we wait. He checked his watch. 3 minutes. We sat in silence, amid the frozen tableau of the cabin. My heart pounded in my ears. Then it hit me, a searing pain behind my eyes that made me double over. Images flooded my mind. A sterile facility with white halls, doctors in masks, a chair with restraints, my own screams. My own screams. A red door at the end of a long corridor. Oh God, I gasped. They took everything. Not everything, he said, gripping my hand. Not me. Not the others. The memories kept coming. My real name, my real life. The experiment I'd volunteered for that became a prison. The people who'd erased me and replaced me with someone more convenient. How many of us are there? I managed to ask through the pain. Enough, he replied. Enough to make them pay. The cabin began to blur around the edges. The frozen passengers became transparent, then faded entirely. The plane itself dissolved like mist. We were sitting in adjacent hospital beds in a white room. IVs ran into our arms. Monitoring equipment beeped steadily beside us. "Welcome back, Emily," he said, his voice stronger now. "Are you ready to find the others?" I looked down at my hospital gown, at the identification bracelet that read Subject 347. I ripped it off. "Yes," I said, as the full weight of my rage and my real memories crystallized. "I'm ready." Behind us, a door opened. Through it, I could see a long corridor ending in a red door. We stepped through together as alarms began to sound. The air at the wandering Star Truck Haven always tasted of diesel, stale regret, and the kind of loneliness that clings to you long after you've driven away. I'm Mike, and my taxi is a rolling snapshot of humanity's late-night underbelly. It was well past 2 a.m., the sky a bruised purple, and I was nursing a lukewarm coffee, waiting for the graveyard shift at the nearby plastics plant to end, hoping for a few fares home. A woman stumbled out from between two hulking 18-wheelers, her silhouette stark against the flickering sodium lights. She wasn't dressed for the chill night air, just a thin, torn jacket over a faded dress. Her hair was matted, her face smudged with dirt and something that looked like old tears. Even from a distance, the tremor in her hands was visible. She looked like a lot lizard, the term truckers used for the women who sold themselves from rig to rig. But as she got closer, her eyes, wide and frantic, told a different story. This wasn't business. This was raw, undiluted terror. She practically fell against my passenger door, fumbling with the handle. I instinctively unlocked it. "Please," she gasped, her voice a ragged whisper. "You gotta help me." She wasn't looking at me for a transaction. She was looking through me, at some unseen horror. "What's wrong?" I asked, my usual late-night weariness replaced by a sudden sharp alertness. Instead of answering, she shoved a crumpled piece of paper into my hand. Her fingers were like ice. "Don't look at it now," she hissed, her eyes darting towards a massive, dark blue Peterbilt idling near the exit, its engine a low, guttural rumble. "Just... please, when he's gone." Before I could say another word, a figure emerged from the cab of the Peterbilt, a mountain of a man, his face obscured by shadow and a greasy baseball cap. He barked something harsh, a single, angry syllable. The woman flinched as if struck. "I gotta go," she whispered, her eyes pleading. She pulled away from my cab and scurried back towards the shadows, disappearing behind another truck. The Peterbilt's air brakes hissed. Its lights cut through the darkness as it began to pull out, lumbering towards the highway entrance. On its side, in stark white lettering, was a unit number, #477. My gaze was fixed on it until its taillights vanished into the pre-dawn gloom. My hand was shaking as I uncrumpled the note. It was a piece of greasy napkin, the writing hurried, almost illegible, scrawled in what looked like cheap eyeliner. "Help. He keeps us in the back. Truck #477. Tell police. Us. Plural." A cold dread washed over me, colder than the night air. The image of that massive, sealed trailer, the desperate woman, the burly trucker, it all clicked into a horrifying picture. This wasn't just a woman in trouble. This was something far darker. My fingers fumbled for my phone. 911. My voice was surprisingly steady as I relayed what had happened, the description of the truck, the unit number, the direction it was headed. The dispatcher, a calm, professional woman, took the information, her voice betraying no surprise, which was somehow more chilling. "We'll put out a bolo, sir. Can you describe the woman, the driver?" I gave what details I could. The truck was already long gone. There was no way I could follow it, not in my beat-up sedan. All I could do was wait. The crumpled note, feeling like a lead weight in my hand, the image of the woman's terrified eyes, the stark plea on that napkin, burned into my mind. An hour later, as the first gray light of dawn began to stain the sky, a state trooper pulled into the truck stop. I gave my statement again. He was polite, thorough, but his expression was grim. "We see things out here, Mike," he said, his voice heavy. "Things you wouldn't believe." He didn't offer any false hope, No promises of a swift resolution. Weeks turned into months. I scanned the news, local and national, searching for any mention of a dark blue Peterbilt, unit hash 477. Any story about a trafficking bust involving a truck stop. Nothing. The silence was a heavy blanket. Did they find it? Did they save us? Or did that truck, with its horrific secret, just melt back into the endless anonymous flow of highway traffic? I still drive the late shift. I still pull into truck stops for coffee. But now, every idling rig, every shadowy figure moving between the behemoths of steel and chrome, makes my skin crawl. I see that woman's face in my dreams, her desperate eyes, her icy fingers pressing that note into my hand. Sometimes, on a long, lonely stretch of highway, I'll see a dark blue Peterbilt in the distance, and my heart will seize, my eyes automatically searching for a unit number. The note is tucked away in my wallet, a constant grim reminder, a reminder of the darkness that rolls alongside us on the asphalt arteries of the country, hidden in plain sight. A reminder that sometimes a desperate whisper in the dead of night is the only lifeline, and you're left wondering if the help you offered was enough, or if it was just swallowed by the vast, indifferent darkness. The road holds so many secrets, and truck hash 477 is one I'll carry with me, a chilling echo in the silence of every late-night fare. It was nearly midnight, and Route 50 stretched ahead of me, empty, desolate, illuminated only by pale, flickering headlights. The radio whispered country music faintly beneath static as I drove, tired from a long shift at the garage. My mechanic's uniform still reeked of engine oil, grease staining my hands. Another ordinary night, in my ordinary life. Then, up ahead, illuminated by my headlights, a figure standing roadside, hood up, thumb out, a hitchhiker. Normally I wouldn't stop, but something, fatigue, loneliness, made me tap the brakes and pull onto the gravel shoulder. He climbed in quietly, nodding thanks. Early 30s. Rough stubble, worn denim jacket. Ordinary enough. He gave a slight smile. Appreciate it. No worries, I muttered, pulling back onto the road. We sat quietly, the radio crackling softly between us. I glanced at him occasionally, noting how his gaze remained steadily fixed forward. About 5 minutes passed in silence before he spoke. His voice low, calm. You still have her body in the back. My blood froze instantly, fingers gripping the wheel tighter. Excuse me? I croaked. He didn't even blink, his eyes never moving from the road ahead. Her body, the girl, she's still back there, right? Heart hammering. I forced a dry laugh. Think you've got the wrong guy. No, he said simply. It's you. I recognize the car. Red Toyota, dented bumper, license plate, ending 637. It's exactly as described. Cold nausea surged through me. He'd memorized my plates. What are you talking about? I demanded, voice shaking. Fear clawed at my throat. He turned slowly, finally meeting my eyes. His expression was disturbingly calm, almost amused. People talk. Rumors spread fast around these parts, especially about missing girls. Like Sarah Jenkins. Remember her? My stomach dropped sharply. Sarah Jenkins. The name had plastered every local news channel for weeks. A teenager vanished from a nearby town. Police had no leads. Her family cried for answers nightly on TV. He leaned forward slightly, voice colder now. Folks say she was last seen getting into a red Toyota, just like this one. I didn't take anyone. My voice cracked. You have the wrong person. Maybe, he shrugged. But people talk. They also talk about rewards for finding her. Good money for anyone who brings her home. Or whoever took her. The implication hung between us, thick and suffocating. He reached into his pocket slowly. Panic surged. I braced for a knife, gun, something deadly, but he pulled out a pack of cigarettes. You mind? He asked casually. My hands shook. Go ahead. He lit one slowly, the small flame briefly illuminating his cold, calculating eyes. Smoke filled the car, acrid and choking. I cracked the window nervously, desperate to clear my head. Miles of empty road surrounded us. Darkness pressing down heavily. No headlights, no witnesses. Helplessly, I eased onto the roadside, gravel crunching beneath tires. The man stepped out calmly, motioning for me to follow. Hesitantly, feeling trapped, I obeyed. Cold night air stung my skin as I stepped from the safety of the car, body trembling. "Open the trunk," he commanded, voice eerily composed. "It's empty," I pleaded, desperation leaking into my voice. "Just tools and junk." "Show me," he insisted, unflinching, hands trembling violently. I inserted the key, heart thudding painfully. I lifted the trunk lid, revealing clutter. My toolbox, spare tire, dirty rags. He stared quietly, unmoving. "See? Nothing here," I said weakly. He shook his head slowly. "Move the tools." I complied shakily, moving them aside, heart pounding painfully. My blood turned icy as I uncovered something unfamiliar. A heavy, black duffel bag I'd never seen before. "What's that?" I stammered, genuine terror twisting my insides. He smiled grimly. "Open it." My fingers numbly grasped the zipper, sliding it open. The bag's fabric parted, revealing bloodied clothing, tangled strands of long brown hair, the exact shade from Sarah Jenkins' missing posters. My vision blurred with horror. "This isn't mine," I whispered, panic surging. "I swear." "I believe you," the hitchhiker said, oddly gentle now. "Because it's mine." My head snapped up, heart nearly stopping. His eyes gleamed darkly beneath the flickering trunk light. "You see," he said quietly, when folks started whispering about a red Toyota, "I needed a scapegoat. Someone ordinary. Someone like you. Perfect alibi. You planted this. Who are you?" I choked, breath ragged. He shrugged casually. "Just a man with particular tastes. Sarah Jenkins wasn't my first. Won't be my last, but I'm careful. I always find someone to take the blame." "Why, tell me?" My voice shook uncontrollably. "Because," he whispered slowly, eyes glinting dangerously, "I enjoy seeing your fear." I lunged for him, desperate, anger surging. But he was faster. Something sharp plunged into my side. Pain exploded through me, breath stolen away instantly. I collapsed to my knees, blood seeping hotly through my fingers. He knelt calmly beside me, wiping his knife clean, face inches from mine. "Sorry about this. I promise it'll be quick." Headlights suddenly blazed through darkness, engine roaring closer. Police cruiser lights flashed, brilliant red and blue, slicing night air. Relief flooded painfully through my chest. He hesitated, expression shifting briefly to panic, then steeled himself, slipping quickly into shadowy trees beside the road. "Help!" I gasped weakly as officers rushed toward me, pistols drawn. Within minutes, police surrounded me, cuffs biting sharply into wrists, my desperate explanations lost in frantic chaos. They found Sarah's bloodied belongings. They found the knife with my blood. No trace of him remained. Interrogations stretched endlessly, disbelief and suspicion heavy in their eyes. Nobody saw a hitchhiker. Cameras showed only my car, stopping briefly on the roadside. Nothing else. Evidence mounted against me rapidly. News reports branded me a monster overnight. Mugshots splashed across TV screens. Friends turned away. Family wouldn't answer calls. My ordinary life shattered irreversibly, buried beneath horrifying accusations. Now, trapped behind cold prison bars, sleepless nights stretch infinitely. He still walks free, anonymous, hidden. Every night I lie awake, helplessly picturing him smiling calmly, thumb extended once again, patiently waiting for another trusting driver to slow down on Route 50. I was innocent, ordinary, just like you. And someday, you might find yourself driving late, radio humming softly, the road empty, until a figure appears at the roadside, thumb out, smiling faintly. You'll hesitate, but you'll stop anyway. And by then, it's already too late. My name's Alex, and I'm a sales rep. My territory covers a sprawling, mostly rural part of West Virginia. I live by my GPS, my phone, the constant hum of connectivity. So, when a sudden highway closure, due to a chemical spill, forced me onto a scenic detour that my phone optimistically called a shortcut, I was already on edge. The detour quickly devolved from paved county roads to gravel tracks, then to a barely there dirt path winding through dense, unforgiving mountains. My phone signal vanished first, then the GPS icon just spun. Lost. No service. The two most dreaded words for a road warrior. The shortcut spat me out into a town that time seemed to have forgotten, or perhaps actively disowned. A faded, bullet-riddled sign read, "Welcome to Oakhaven, Pop." The question marks felt less like missing information and more like a warning. The town was a collection of weathered wooden buildings, their paint peeling like sunburnt skin, windows dark and vacant like empty eye sockets. A single ancient traffic light blinked red at the main intersection, its rhythm slow and deliberate, despite the utter lack of cross-traffic. It felt like the town's dying heartbeat. As I idled at that incongruous red light, the silence of the place pressing in, a movement caught my eye. A man, gaunt and disheveled, emerged from the shadows of a boarded-up general store. He moved with a shuffling, hesitant gait, his eyes wide and darting. He approached my passenger window, his knuckles rapping softly on the glass. I hesitated, a prickle of unease on my skin, then reluctantly powered the window down a crack. The smell hit me first. Stale sweat, damp earth, and an undercurrent of something metallic, like old blood. His face was pale, etched with grime and desperation. He leaned in close, his breath fogging the small gap. "Turn around," he whispered, his voice a dry, rasping hiss. "Don't stop here. They bury drivers in Oakhaven." Before I could respond, before I could even process the horrifying words, he recoiled, his eyes darting towards a movement further down the street, and melted back into the shadows as quickly as he'd appeared. The light turned green. My heart hammered against my ribs. They bury drivers here. It had to be a local crazy, a harmless eccentric. But the sheer terror in his eyes, the urgency in his whisper, it felt chillingly real. I wanted to slam the car into reverse, to heed his warning. But the narrow street, the looming buildings, the feeling of unseen eyes. I drove forward, slowly, my hands gripping the wheel so tight. My knuckles were white. The town was eerily silent. No cars, no pedestrians, save for a few shadowy figures who watched me pass from behind grimy windows. Their faces indistinct, their gazes heavy. Every storefront was either boarded up or looked like it hadn't seen business in decades. Yet, there were signs of recent, if sparse, habitation. A thin plume of smoke from one chimney, a patched tire on a rusted pickup truck, parked in an overgrown yard. It felt like a place holding its breath. My shortcut was supposed to loop back to the main highway. But the further I drove through Oakhaven, the more the town seemed to close in on itself. The streets became narrower, more confusing, a labyrinth of decay. The few street signs I saw were either illegible or pointed in contradictory directions. My initial unease was rapidly escalating into a cold, gnawing fear. I was lost, cut off, in a town where a man had just told me they buried drivers. I passed what looked like the town's only garage. Several old, battered vehicles were parked outside, some half covered in tarps. One, a dark green sedan, looked eerily similar to a model that had been reported missing on a news alert a few weeks back. A tourist who'd vanished on a cross-country trip. My stomach clenched. Coincidence? My mind screamed at me to get out. But every turn seemed to lead me deeper into Oakhaven's decaying heart. Then, I saw it. On the edge of town, where the forest began to reclaim the land, was a small, fenced-off area. Not a neat, manicured cemetery. This was rough, untended. The earth mounded in uneven, haphazard rows. Crude wooden crosses, some weathered and leaning, others looking disturbingly fresh, dotted the landscape. And near the back, partially hidden by a tangle of thorny bushes, was a patch of freshly turned earth. No cross yet, just raw, dark soil. The metallic scent I'd noticed on the man's breath seemed stronger here, carried on the faint breeze. Panic, sharp and cold, clawed at my throat. This wasn't just a creepy, rundown town. The man's warning, the missing car, the fresh grave, it all coalesced into a horrifying certainty. I had to get out. I slammed the car into a three-point turn on the narrow road, tires spitting gravel. As I raced back through the town, my earlier caution thrown to the wind, I saw them. Figures emerging from the dilapidated houses, from the shadowy alleyways. Not many, maybe a dozen, but their movements were no longer hesitant. They were purposeful, converging, their faces grim, their eyes fixed on my car. Some carried tools, shovels, pickaxes, heavy wrenches. They weren't coming to offer directions. The red light at the main intersection was still blinking, a mocking, indifferent eye. I didn't even slow down. I blew through it, my tires screeching, expecting at any moment a gunshot, a thrown rock, something to stop me. But they just watched, their faces impassive, as if my escape was only a temporary reprieve. I don't know how I found my way out. Adrenaline fueled a desperate, instinctual series of turns. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the dirt road gave way to gravel, then to blessed, beautiful asphalt. My phone flickered, then sprang to life with a chorus of notifications. Service, civilization. I didn't stop driving until I was 2 states away. I reported it, of course, to the state police. I told them about the man, the warning, the cemetery, the feeling of being hunted. They took my statement, their faces polite but skeptical. Old mining town, sir, one officer said. Lots of local legends, eccentric folks. Probably just spooked you. They promised to look into it. I never heard anything more. Oakhaven isn't on any modern map I can find. Sometimes I wonder if it was even real. A fever dream born of isolation and a wrong turn. But I still see that man's terrified eyes, smell that metallic scent, feel the weight of those silent, watching figures. And I know, with a certainty that chills me to the bone, that some shortcuts lead to places where the earth is always freshly turned, waiting for the next lost driver. They bury drivers in Oakhaven. I believe him. I stood in the stall, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, casting jagged shadows. The scratches were fresh, the edges raw, as if clawed by a knife. I was alone, the only rig in the lot, but the warning felt personal, carved for me. I snapped a photo, my hands unsteady, and checked the other stalls. Nothing, just graffiti and grime. Back outside, the wind howled, rattling the restroom door. My truck loomed across the lot, its chrome glinting under the lone street lamp. I jogged to it, the gravel crunching too loud, and locked myself in the cab. I called my buddy Ray, a fellow trucker who ran this route. Ever hear of trouble at mile 237 rest area? I asked, voice low. He paused, his radio crackling. Heard rumors. Drivers go missing, rigs found empty, cops blind drifters, but stay sharp, Mike. I hung up, the warning's words burning in my mind. Don't sleep. I checked my mirrors. Nothing but empty asphalt and sagebrush. But the hairs on my neck stood up, like eyes were boring into me from the dark. I tried to relax, sipping stale coffee, but a faint atitapi came from the trailer, like metal on metal. I froze, cup halfway to my lips. My load was machine parts, strapped tight, no reason for noise. I grabbed my flashlight and tire thumper, stepping out into the chill. The lot was still empty, the restroom's light flickering now. I circled the trailer, the Yitapai coming again, slower. Deliberate. The cargo door was secure. No scratches, no signs. But under the trailer, a smear of something dark glistened. Thick, like oil, but it smelled wrong. Coppery. Back in the cab, I locked the doors, heart pounding. The CB hissed, a voice breaking through, distorted. Mike, don't sleep. My name clear as day. I yanked the mic, shouting, "Who's this?" Static answered, then silence. My phone had no signal, the screen a useless glow. I turned on the cab's interior light, the shadows outside deepening. A shape moved near the restroom, low and quick, gone before I could focus. My mouth went dry. I gripped the thumper, eyes darting to the mirrors. An hour later, the street lamp buzzed out, plunging the lot into dark. My headlights cut through the gloom, catching glints of dust. A new sound, a slow scraping, like a blade dragged across concrete, came from the restroom. I locked the cab again, sweat beading on my brow. My flashlight beam swept the lot, landing on the restroom door, now cracked open. A hand, pale and bony, curled around the frame, then vanished. I blinked, unsure if I'd seen it, but my pulse roared. I radioed for help, but the CB was dead, just white noise. The Y-scrape grew louder, closer, circling the rig. I started the engine, ready to roll, when something thudded against the passenger door, hard enough to rock the cab. I swung the flashlight. Nothing, but fresh scratches marred the door, deep and uneven. My throat tightened. I revved the engine, but the tires spun, stuck in sudden mud, though the lot was dry minutes ago. Panic clawed at me. I grabbed my phone. The photo of the warning still open. The date, yesterday, seemed to pulse. Another white stug, this time on the roof, heavy, like boots landing. I killed the headlights, plunging the cab into dark, and held my breath. The yes-scraper stopped, replaced by a low chuckle. Close, just outside the window. My flashlight caught a face. Gone, eyes sunken, lips cracked, pressed against the glass, staring in. I yelled, dropping the light and floored the gas. The tires caught, lurching the rig forward. I drove a mile, heart hammering, and stopped at a gas station, its neon a beacon. I called the cops, babbling about the rest area, the warning, the face. Sheriff Cole arrived, a wiry man with tired eyes. He followed me back, but the lot was empty. No scratches, no mud, no blood. The Stoll's warning was gone, the paint smooth, as if never touched. Stress, maybe, Cole said, scribbling notes. Long holes mess with you. I showed him the photo, but he frowned. Could be edited, Mike. I kept driving, switched routes, but the face haunted me. 2 weeks later, at a diner, I overheard truckers whispering about a killer. A drifter who hunted rest areas, targeting lone drivers for their cargo. Their lives, his motive, a twisted need to dominate the roads forgot. They called him the Scraper, for the blade he dragged to terrify. Last night, a package waited at my motel. No address. Inside, a Polaroid of my rig at that rest area. My cab lit. Me inside, unaware. On the back, in jagged scrawl, I hunt here. I sold my rig. Took a warehouse job in Boise. But every engine's rumble, every scrape of metal, pulls me back to that lot. The Scraper's still out there, his blade ready, waiting for the next trucker who dares to sleep. The road's behind me, but its shadows aren't. I check my motel locks, keep a knife close, but I know he's watching. His chuckle just a mile marker away. The rattling began outside Bakersfield, a metallic cough beneath my Dodge. I pulled over near mile marker 143, where the highway shrinks to 2 lanes and the sagebrush grows tall enough to hide a body. The July sun baked the asphalt, warping the horizon. I'd driven this route for 8 years. Long-haul trucking numbs you to fear, until it doesn't. The locket was wedged in the undercarriage, chains snarled around the axle, tarnished silver, heart-shaped. Inside, a photo of a girl with a gap-toothed smile. Mara Torres, 19, missing, since 10/15/22. I'd seen her face taped to gas station bathrooms from Tucson to Tacoma. The diner's AC dripped onto my neck as I showed the locket to Rita, the night shift waitress. Her tattooed hand trembled. That's the Kingsnake's work. Regulars called him a myth, a phantom trucker who hunted women like Mara. He leaves trophies on his kills. Cops found an earring in a tire tread once, back in the parking lot. My windshield hosted a new decoration, a dead crow, its beak pried open. Detective Hargrove met me at a rest stop. His tie loosened. Kingsnake's a campfire story. Mara? She's a runaway. He pocketed the locket. But I'll check. That night, my CB radio crackled to life. A distorted voice hummed Camptown Ladies, the song Mara's mom said she'd been singing before she vanished. The truck stop motel reeked of mildew. I googled Kingsnake in the dark. Forum threads detailed missing women, all last seen near highways. He tags their cars, one post read, follows them till they're alone. An engine idled outside. Headlights silhouetted a rig with a cracked fender, matching the description of Mara's last Uber ride. Hargrove's card went to voicemail. The locket reappeared in my glove box. Photo replaced with a Polaroid of my rig. Caption, Next exit, I drove. The barn loomed off Route 395. Its doors yawning. Inside, rigs lined the walls. 18-wheelers caked in dust. Each bore a name. Lucy, 2018. Annette, 2018. Mara's truck sat at the center. Cab splattered with dried bougainvillea. Her phone charged in the ignition. Playlist looping Camptown ladies. A shadow filled the doorway. You found my garden. The king snake wore a mechanic's uniform. Gloves black with grease. Mara fought. Planted her locket on a passing truck. Your truck. He revved a chainsaw. Now you'll join her. I rammed him with Mara's door. He fell into his garden. A pit of sun-bleached bones. The cops found Hargrove's business card in his wallet. They're calling me a hero. The papers say the king snake's real name was Dale Pritchett. A long hauler with a wife in Phoenix. But last night, hauling produced through Nevada, my rig rattled again. A new locket gleamed in the headlights. Inside, Hargrove's face. The CB crackled. Camptown ladies sing this song. Final note. The highways toll praise on the desolation of endless roads and the monsters who navigate them unseen. The real horror isn't the killer. It's the realization that the highway doesn't care who's behind the wheel. Only that the miles keep rolling. Check your mirrors. Check your locks. Keep driving. 6 months behind on rent. I'd reached that desperate point where any job looked good. Even the ones on those sketchy gig apps with more one-star reviews than actual users. That's how I found myself on Rapidrun, the app that promised quick cash for quick deliveries. No background check, no questions asked. Just grab a package, drop it off, get paid. Most jobs were standard, dropping off forgotten laptops to offices, or delivering urgent documents across town. The pay was garbage, but it kept gas in my Honda and ramen in my cupboard while I searched for something permanent after being laid off. Then the premium offer appeared on my screen. $500 for one delivery. The pickup was a storage unit downtown. The drop-off was a warehouse about 50 miles outside of Philadelphia, deep in the rural sprawl of western Pennsylvania. The listing specified after sunset and no questions. Red flags for sure, but my eviction notice was redder. I tapped accept before I could talk myself out of it. The storage unit manager handed me a package wrapped in brown paper and secured with packing tape, about the size of a shoebox, unexpectedly heavy for its dimensions. My Rapidrun instructions were explicit. Do not open. Do not scan. Do not photograph. You delivering to the mill? The manager asked, eyes darting to the package. I checked my phone. Place called Riverside Storage and Processing. That the mill? His face tightened. Sure, that's what they're calling it now. He hesitated, then pushed a coffee into my hand. On the house. Long drive ahead. I thanked him and left, wondering why his knuckles had gone white around his own cup. The GPS took me through increasingly remote areas. As sunset bled into darkness, the two-lane highway narrowed to cracked asphalt barely wider than my car. Pine trees pressed close to the road, branches scratching at my windows whenever I veered too close to the shoulder. My phone signal flickered between one bar and none. At mile 47, I hit a pothole that sent my coffee splashing across the passenger seat. Cursing, I reached for napkins in the glove compartment. Something metallic clinked inside, a bottle opener I didn't recognize. I closed it, figuring it belonged to my roommate who'd borrowed my car last week. The final turn brought me to a gravel road with a rusted gate bearing a faded Riverside Mill sign. Underneath, a newer metal plaque read Riverside Storage and Processing, private property. Security lights illuminated a sprawling concrete building with loading docks along one side. The place must have been a textile mill once, but now most of the windows were boarded up. 2 black SUVs with tinted windows were parked near the main entrance. My tires crunched over gravel as I pulled up to the loading area. The app pinged. You have arrived at your destination. A door opened, spilling yellow light across the lot. 3 figures emerged, 2 men in dark jackets flanking a shorter woman in a gray pantsuit. Their faces remained in shadow. I lowered my window. Delivery front. The woman held up her hand. No one spoke. She simply pointed to a metal table set up beside the loading dock. I grabbed the package and stepped out, the night air carrying an industrial smell. Chemicals and something sweeter underneath, like rotting fruit. Walking to the table felt like crossing a stage with an invisible audience watching. When I set the package down, the woman nodded once. One of the men placed an envelope on the table. Cash, presumably. Don't I need a signature or something? I asked. No response. Just 3 faces. expressionless, watching. The woman pointed again, this time toward my car. The message was clear. Take the money and go. I grabbed the envelope and backed away, maintaining eye contact until I reached my car. As I pulled out, I caught a final glimpse in my rearview mirror. All three still standing there, watching my retreat, the package now cradled in the woman's arms. Only when I hit the main road did my shoulders finally relax. I opened the envelope at a stoplight. 5 crisp $100 bills. Easy money for a weird but simple job. It was nearly midnight when I pulled into my apartment complex. I reached for my phone in the cup holder and noticed the glove compartment wasn't fully closed. Strange. I was sure I'd shut it earlier. I popped it open. Nestled among insurance papers and fast food napkins was a cheap black flip phone. I need black flip phone. The kind you buy with cash at a convenience store. The burner definitely wasn't mine. My stomach dropped. I slammed the glove box shut, as if the phone might bite me. Someone had been in my car, but when? At the warehouse, during pickup, the storage manager who'd given me coffee. I grabbed everything and hurried to my apartment, locking the door behind me. The burner phone sat on my kitchen counter like a bomb while I paced, trying to make sense of it. Maybe it was just some weird app protocol, a secure way to contact drivers for premium jobs. Then it rang. The harsh electronic jingle cut through the silence of my apartment. I stared at the vibrating phone, its tiny screen lighting up with unknown caller. On the fourth ring, I answered but said nothing. I trust the delivery went smoothly. A man's voice artificially deepened. Congratulations, you've been selected for our premium driver program. My mouth went dry. Who is this? Someone who pays well for reliable service. 500 was just a test run. There's much more available for someone with your discretion. I just deliver what the app assigns me, I said. I don't know what you're talking about. The voice chuckled. Of course you do. You delivered a package, no questions asked. We value that quality. A pause. Check your Rapid Run account. I opened the app. My balance now showed $5,000. That's a signing bonus. The voice continued. 10 times your fee just to show our commitment. I should have hung up. Should have thrown the phone away and reported everything to the police. But $5,000 meant rent paid for months. It meant breathing room. What would I be delivering? I asked, immediately hating myself for the question. Nothing you need to concern yourself with. Sometimes packages like tonight. Sometimes information. Occasionally people. We transport specialists to locations where they're needed. Discreetly, the conversation continued, the voice outlining how I'd receive instructions through the burner phone. No names, no questions. Just pick up, deliver, get paid. I listened, telling myself I was just gathering information before going to the authorities. But I didn't go to the police that night, or the next day. The money hit my bank account, and I paid my overdue rent. I told myself I'd stop after one more job. Just one more to build a proper emergency fund. 3 days later, the burner phone rang with instructions for my next pickup. The pattern continued for weeks. Packages of varying sizes, sealed envelopes, twice nervous-looking men who sat silently in my backseat until I dropped them at designated locations. I never knew what was in the packages or who the men were. I didn't want to know. Then came the night everything changed. The pickup was an apartment in South Philly. The package was a teenage girl, maybe 16, with frightened eyes and a bruised cheek. Please, she whispered when we were alone in the car. I don't want to go there. My knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Where are they taking you? They said models, for photo shoots. Her voice cracked. But my friend went last month. She never came back. Ice flooded my veins as realization dawned. All those packages, the nervous men, the remote warehouse. I'd been working for traffickers, helping them, enabling them. I'm getting you out of this, I told her, making a sudden U-turn away from the warehouse destination. We're going to the police, as if on cue. The burner phone rang. I ignored it. It rang again and again. When it finally stopped, a text message appeared. Deviation detected. Return to route immediately. Minutes later, headlights appeared in my rear view mirror. A black SUV, identical to those at the warehouse, gaining rapidly. "Hold on," I told the girl, pressing the accelerator. What followed was a desperate chase through city streets. The SUV stayed with us. No matter how many turns I took, my regular phone rang. My roommate's number. "Don't answer," the girl screamed, grabbing my phone. They had contacts. The SUV rammed us from behind. My Honda fishtailed, tires squealing as I fought for control. We made it to the South Street Bridge before they caught us. The SUV pulled alongside, and I caught a glimpse of the gray-suited woman from the warehouse, now pointing something black and metallic at my window. I swerved hard, crashing through the bridge barrier. For one suspended moment, we hung in the air above the Schuylkill River. The girl's terrified face, illuminated by dashboard lights. My own racing heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then water impact. Cold rushing in as the car began to sink. "Deep breath," I shouted, helping the girl release her seatbelt. Water rushed into the car as we forced the doors open against the pressure. Kicking desperately toward the surface, we emerged gasping into the night air, the Honda disappearing beneath us. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had seen the crash. Through blurry eyes, I watched the black SUV screech away from the bridge above. The police had questions. Endless questions. About the chase. About the girl. About the job I'd been doing. I told them everything. The storage unit, the warehouse, the burner phone now lost in the river. The girl, Maria, I learned, confirmed it all, adding details about a trafficking operation that spanned multiple states. They took me into protective custody that night. Maria, too. Detectives explained that I'd stumbled into an investigation they'd been building for months. The premium driver program was how the network moved people and products without exposing their key players. "You're lucky to be alive," one detective told me. "These people don't leave loose ends." 3 days later, police raided the warehouse. They found evidence of trafficking, drugs, and worse. But all the key players had vanished. The operation had gone to ground, warned by someone inside law enforcement. That was 6 months ago. I'm in a different state now, with a new name and a job stocking shelves at a grocery store. Maria is somewhere else entirely, both of us hidden by witness protection. The trafficking network was wounded by the raid, but not destroyed. The case remains open. Sometimes I still check the repeater app, though I know it's foolish. My account was deleted, but occasionally I search for those premium delivery offers, wondering if they're still finding desperate people like me. Last week, my new phone, the one only 3 government agents have the number for, received a text message from an unknown sender. Just 5 words that made my blood freeze. "Still need reliable drivers. $10,000 start." I reported it immediately. My handler assured me it was impossible, that my identity was secure. But yesterday, I found a coffee cup on my passenger seat after work, the same brand that the storage manager had given me all those months ago. I didn't put it there, and my doors were locked. Tonight, I'll drive as far as this borrowed life will take me. Because some deliveries aren't finished until they claim their fee, one way or another. The miles blur, the white lines hypnotic, but the echoes of these encounters, they remain. 7 tales from the lonely road, where the ordinary became the unspeakable. Did a specific story make the shadows on your own late-night drive seem a little deeper, a little more menacing? The true horror of the highway is how quickly safety can vanish, leaving you alone with whatever darkness the road has conjured. Which chilling pit stop will stay with you long after the engine cools? Unload your thoughts, your own roadside shivers, in the comments below. We're always listening on this channel. If these dispatches from the dark highways have resonated with your own fears, then subscribe to Nightmare True Horror. Give that like button a flash of your high beams, and help guide other weary souls to our unsettling narratives. Until the next long haul into the heart of fear, keep your eyes on the road, and your doors locked. You never know who or what might be looking for a ride.